All right, we are continuing our assignment 3 photocubism, or I'm sorry, assignment 6 photocubism project. Silly me. And I have 2 files open, right? Just to remind you, I have the assets files that Photoshop grouped for me, kind of like a photo assistant would put puzzle pieces in piles for you. Some of them are individual, and I'll just use those as I need. But then I pay attention to where they group them, and I bring those over using the Move tool with Auto Select on for layer. And by drawing that box, it selects all those layers, and I'm able to bring the whole thing over onto my final project. So I actually don't need this visible so much now, but I'm not going to close it. I'm just going to minimize it, because then I'll bring in some of these individual shots to flesh it out. But first I'm dealing with these big kind of overlapping groups. So I put them around my sketch. I've already resized my sketch so that it is already printable resolution, 350 pixels per inch at around 11 by 14 inches. You can see my rulers off to the side. So anything I bring onto them, like this canopy of leaves, I can hit Command T, hold down Shift always so they don't distort and become not rectangular, and kind of put them into position using my sketch as inspiration. Right? So that's the top canopy of my money tree. And then here's some other money tree photos. And because I've linked these all together, even though I'm just selecting one photo by clicking on it, it's going to move and transform that whole group. And then I like that kind of top there. But I'm going to hit Command T, and maybe I'll play with the size of these. I kind of like that movement there. And don't worry about putting too many on. We're going to learn how to kind of edit it out later and decide which ones we want to keep, which ones we don't. Now my vision was to kind of go down the trunk. And I have different lightings, but I kind of like this one. Okay, now I can put all those there. I can hit Command T, kind of shrink them to be about the size I was thinking. Maybe something like that. But what if I don't want that photo on top of all these other photos? So I click it, I see all the chain link ones, and I can hold down Shift and select them all. And then if I use just my mouse, I can click and drag them lower. I can put them below every layer except for my sketch if I want to. But this is kind of the faster shortcut. So now that whole group is behind this group. If I do Command right bracket, it will move my selected layers up through the layers. And I can see it kind of overtake layers as I go. Or if I hit Command down bracket, which is just beneath the Command plus and minus for zooming in and out. So Command the left bracket, not down bracket, moves them down. And so that's a way you can position them. So for instance, I can take this photo, which has the felt flowers, and I can do Command right bracket and bring that photo up, or Command left bracket and push it backwards. And because they're all individual layers, I can just simply turn that layer off and try the composition without it, or do something else entirely. Right? Like completely covered this photo, which maybe I want to use somewhere else. You know, that group. And we'll get into that. So maybe this group I want to now push below. Now this group is made of 3 different chain linked layers that have been separated because I've been moving all these different photos around. So I'm going to group those layers together, and then I'm going to move them all down or move them all up. But I kind of like that they were lit a little bit differently, and they kind of break up this form. I like that flower, that little pop of color. It's all about showing from different angles, because that flower is in the back here somewhere, or, yeah, I guess it's that flower. I'm not sure. It's not about documenting reality. Okay, now I have the top, now I want the bottom. And I know I want this group here as the bottom. So I'm going to move that in pretty much unchanged. I really like how that kind of works in the corner there. And I like this grouping here. And I like how it kind of extends that bench. But it's sad how I've lost that little bottom of the pot. So it's all little kind of concessions. So maybe I shrink this. And I kind of extend it in that way. I have the window here. Maybe I just want to have that kind of showing from behind on one edge. It has some nice kind of vibrant colors to it. So not all of these things are planned for in my sketch. But it's the spirit of everything I'm kind of responding to. Right? And then at any time I can turn my sketch off and kind of get a sense of what it looks like. Not a great sense, but a little bit of a sense. And so if you want a better sense, this is why I recommend making a duplicate of your sketch layer. So I will do that right now. I'm just going to select out my sketch on my sketch layer, make a quick duplicate of it so it's floating on its own layer. Now I'm going to select my background layer, and I'm going to say edit, fill the entire layer with 50% gray. And then I can turn off and on my sketch. And that will help you see where the corners of your photo are and kind of what that overall shape is like. Okay, save your work every once in a while. I have it saved as a PSD file, Carl Fry Assignment 6. And now this is just scrapbooking. So I have this big, beautiful group here, which has the vibrant flowers. So now I want to bring this in across the middle, but I want to shrink it. I want to play with it. I have a little bit of window there. So it might be nice to kind of push my window cutting across it like so. And then I can maybe move this individual exposure down underneath. See if I like that better. And I get little hints of the window and lots of flowers, and it kind of explodes out. And this is without any kind of color alterations at all. This is just playing. Okay, so the only other groups I have is this, which is lit very differently. But maybe that can be useful. I'll just put it right there in the middle. I like that little window bit there. But let me select both those photos and then move them down through the different layers. See what works. Or I can leave the window on that layer and I can decouple it from its chain link if I wanted to shrink this down because I don't like all that yellow. All I do is click the chain link on one of those layers and it will uncouple them. Yeah, sadly. And it shows me that this is actually that same picture as that. So I'm going to shrink that whole thing It's decoupled though from the other, and kind of push it over like that. Maybe rotate it, now it's just on its own. Then I have the other layer, which is here, and it's decoupled. And I can use it for what I want to use it for, which is maybe just a little bit of yellow leaves breaking up this space. Because when I turn off my sketch, it's kind of nice to have that yellow color of the wall breaking up all these different grays. Sometimes. And then I have this kind of crystal overexposure of the window in certain parts with lower lighting shots. Some that are, because this was taken in the evening, so some that are taken at night. That's my flash reflecting in the window, some without flash. Then I have my son's foot, where if I don't want my son's foot in there, I can always just turn that one layer off. Or I can be even more creative with it, just take that one individual layer, uncouple it. You have to do that when you're not in a transform. So I've just uncoupled that one layer. All the others are still grouped. But this one now, I can kind of move at its own angle and just cover up that foot. Right? And place it. Okay, now I still have this group. And you don't need to use everything. But I do kind of like the showing that skinny little trunk in there. So I'll take it into kind of a boring place in my composition, and then as a group, maybe move that whole section down through the layers, then up through other ones. And maybe I want it behind that. But I want this one behind those, so I'm going to uncouple this one now. Uncouple that one, just bring that one layer up through the ranks. So once you have them kind of placed in a group, then you start uncoupling them and you find more interesting things you can do. I don't like to have it really obvious in my cubist compositions, especially ones with this many photos, of having just one kind of big photo on top of everything else. I always like to really make their divisions pretty clear. Everything's fragmented. And I like how this one, even though it's just one photo on top of everything, it's one of my very uppermost photos, its edge gets totally lost here in that shadow, so it doesn't feel like it's a strong edge. If you ever see things that look horizontal and vertical, this one looks kind of horizontal and vertical. Just that one photo. It's a good opportunity to kind of play and make it look more handmade by just uncoupling that one photo and transforming it, scaling it separately. Whoops. Hold down Shift, drag from the corner. And maybe rotating it in a slightly different way, positioning it in a slightly different way. So even though the computer put them together for you, you have no obligation to keep them in the way that they were placed for you. Okay, so that's your first step. Like I might even swing this one 180 degrees just to kind of give a different eye movement and to kind of break up the form in there. Then I might play with moving it down through the layers. Well, that was pretty severe. But then I can take this one and play with having that go down through the layers, or just moving it a little bit. Or decoupling just that exposure. Maybe just turning that one exposure off. Or moving it down behind. Right? So, we have so many options. We get to be very experimental and explorative. Okay, now that's just with all my groupings. And honestly, that's enough. I don't need to use everything. There's no reason to. If I feel I need some darkness in there, maybe at this edge, can bring that layer kind of behind.